School is a safe place for kids to learn each day. To keep it that way, we want to talk about some safety procedures that we will be using at school. We're going to watch this video together and take time with your teacher to talk and practice. This won't be something we just talk about today, but something we talk about and practice all year long to keep you safe. Today, we're going to talk about something called the Standard Response Protocol. If anything unsafe ever happens in our building, we will hear a message to help us know what to do. Today, we want to talk about the 4 actions that we take if there's ever anything unsafe. These are things called lockout, lockdown, evacuate, and shelter. We will also talk about one other thing that we do in Lubbock ISD. Every announcement we hear helps us know exactly what to do. So let's talk about the announcements we might hear. If we are supposed to do lockout, we will hear this announcement. Lockout, secure the perimeter. Lockout, secure the perimeter. If we are supposed to lock down, we will hear lock down, locks, lights, out of sight. Lock down, locks, lights, out of sight. If we need to evacuate, we will hear evacuate, and then the announcement will tell us where to go. And if we need to shelter, we will hear shelter for hazard, and then they'll tell us what to do. Every action has a special set of instructions to tell us what to do next. When we hear these announcements, they will tell us what we're supposed to do, and then they'll repeat it to make sure that we hear. So let's talk about what we do in a lockout. We will hear an announcement that says, lockout, secure the perimeter. Lockout, secure the perimeter. Why? Something is going on outside the building, and we want to make sure that everyone is safe. It might be a crime nearby, an unsafe person, or maybe even an animal. So here's what happens. The teachers will lock all the outside doors, and no one will be allowed in or out. Let's take a quick look at this video.
Attention students, we're in lockout, secure the perimeter. Lockout, secure the perimeter.
The goals of a lockout are to get all students and staff inside the building.
Guys, come on in. You need to get inside. Go to the first classroom on the right. Hurry, 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 hurry.
And then lock all exterior doors. In most cases of a lockout, it will be business as usual inside the school. However, in some cases, a lockdown may also be issued in conjunction with a lockout, particularly if the threat is near the school.
So let's look at the student instructions on what to do in a lockout. If a lockout lasts into recess or lunch, no one will be coming in or out, so we'll stay in the building. Same thing is true at the end of the school day. Depending on what's going on, we may have to stay in the building, or students that walk home may have to call their parents to be picked up. Here is what your teachers will be doing during a lockout. First, they will bring everyone inside and make sure that all the doors are locked. Teachers will make sure everyone is in class and note the time that attendance was taken. Almost always, it's business as usual in the building. We will keep doing the things that we would normally do. Now let's talk about a lockdown. The announcement will sound like this. Lock down, locks, lights, out of sight. Lock down, locks, lights, out of sight. A lockdown is used when there's a threat inside the school building. It might be an unsafe person or an unsafe situation. What does it look like? Let's watch.
If you're in a classroom when a lockdown is called, the main thing to remember is locks, lights, out of sight. As students gather in a safe area of the room, lock the door and turn off all lights. Have everyone in the room move to a location that is out of sight. Pick an area of the room that can't be seen from interior windows. An actual lockdown may not be resolved for several hours. Here's how you should wait. Stay in the safe location. Don't move around the room. Remain silent. Staff, take written attendance of who is in the room. Note anyone missing and if you have any extra students or staff.
Okay, let's look at what students should do. First, stay out of sight from the hall window. How do you know if you're out of sight? If you can't see out the hall window, then no one in the hall can see you. Also, sit on the floor and get low. A locked door is a proven time barrier. If any violence occurs, rarely, if ever, has someone been hurt behind a locked classroom door. Your job is to be absolutely silent. Turn off your phone in the initial stages of a lockdown. If there's an actual lockdown, you'll get a chance to text your parents in a little while. Do not open the door for anyone. Administrators or law enforcement will unlock the door and release the room. We won't know it's safe until they come to our door and tell us it's safe. Let's look at what your teachers will be doing in a lockdown. When teachers hear lockdown, locks, lights, out of sight. Depending on what they see and hear, they may sweep the hall for students. If the threat is close to the classroom, they will focus on getting the door locked and closed as quickly as possible. A locked door is a proven lifesaver. Teachers will turn out the lights. Usually there's no need to raise or lower the outside window shades because the threat is inside the building. The goal is to get out of sight, behind a locked door, as quickly as possible. Teachers will leave the hall windows uncovered. Law enforcement needs to see into the room from the hallway. Some rooms may have 2 doors with hall windows, making it difficult to get out of sight. In this case, it may be beneficial to cover one of the hallway windows. Teachers will not slide anything under the door. More and more law enforcement agencies are recommending not using any kind of communication cards under the door. The reasoning is twofold. First, they won't believe the message until they've seen with their own eyes that the class is safe. And secondly, it may be giving away too much information to the bad guys. We don't want to do anything that would help an unsafe person know where we are. Teachers will keep everyone silent and make sure phones are off. A lockdown cannot be ended with an announcement. It only ends when administration or police open the door and release the room. Teachers will try to take attendance. They will make notes if there are missing students or extra students who have been gathered from the hallway. They will also write down the time. This just helps track students and make sure that everyone is safe. So let's take a look at a lockdown.
If a fire alarm sounds, do not leave your safe location unless you are certain that a fire is threatening your room. If you are forced to evacuate due to a fire, keep in mind that the hall may not be your best escape route.
Now let's review what we've talked about. Pause the video and go over some discussion questions. Okay, now let's talk about evacuate. Evacuate means to move from one place to another in an orderly fashion. A fire drill is really an evacuate out of the building. It means that we leave the building to get outside to a safer location. Evacuate is always followed by a location. For example, evacuate to the gym. Evacuate to the gym. So here's what students do. Usually, you'll leave your stuff behind. You want to be sure and listen for any new directions. Teachers, there may be cases where you lead your students, and there may be cases where you follow students out. In a police-led evacuation, you'll probably be asked to lead the students. When we get to the evacuation area, the teachers will take attendance and note the time. If police are helping, it may look and feel a little different. Let's watch this video to see what it might be like.
When law enforcement begins the evacuation, here's what to expect. An officer will unlock your door and enter the room. Stay where you are. The officer will give you specific instructions you must follow.
Springfield Police Department, you're safe, everything's okay, we're going to get you out of the building. I need everyone to follow my instructions. I need a single file line, leave all your personal property on the floor where it is, form me a single file line right here at the door. Teacher, I need you in front, please.
You will be asked to leave your stuff behind, form a line at the door with the teacher in front.
I need everyone to hold hands with the person to your right and left.
Hold hands with the person in front of and behind you until you reach your final destination. Wait quietly for further instructions from the officer.
Teacher, I need you to walk out and follow the instructions of that officer right there. Go ahead.
You will be told to proceed to the next officer. Walk, do not run, and do not talk.
Walk towards the stairs.
Follow the directions of the officers guiding you during the evacuation. They could be giving you verbal directions
Right to the stairs.
or hand signals. Watch the pace of your line. Be aware of obstacles such as corners, fallen objects, debris, or stairs which may affect the speed your line can move. Don't stop until you reach the location you were directed to.
Keep moving all the way to the end of the fence. All the way to the end of the fence. Keep moving.
Verify attendance and wait for further instructions.
Connor.
Here.
Andrew. Here.
So here's what students do. If police are involved, it's important to keep your hands visible to the officers. Most likely, you will be asked to leave your stuff behind. If your phone is in your pocket, bring it. If it's in a purse or backpack, you may not be given the opportunity to grab it. Students, don't be surprised if the officers are loud and demanding. They're just trying to figure out where the danger is. They will give instructions that you should follow. Again, make sure your hands are visible. All of that goes for teachers as well. There may be circumstances, teachers, where you can't bring your purse, briefcase, or backpack. Try to bring your keys and wallets if you can get them safely. Teachers will grab the attendance sheet so that they can check on students. They'll also try to grab their phones. At the evacuation area, teachers will gather the group together to take attendance. If teachers were able to get attendance during lockdown, they want to verify the students in the assembly area against the roster that you created during the lockdown. Time to talk about shelter. Some of you may have heard the term shelter in place. Unfortunately, there's many different things that shelter in place could mean. With the standards response protocol, we want a shortcut to make sure that we can state the danger and the safety strategy. So what's a hazard? Well, it's something dangerous. It could be environmental, like a tornado, or it might be like a chemical spill nearby. It's something that's unsafe. The announcement might be just the hazard and the safety strategy. In either case, we will repeat it. For example, tornado, get to the storm shelter. Tornado, get to the storm shelter. Our safety strategy is to remain safe. We will hear an announcement that tells us what the hazard is and the strategy that we will be using. For a hazmat risk, like an unsafe chemical spill, we'll seal the room up by taping plastic around doors, vents, and windows. Listen carefully for instructions. The situation might change, so we have to be ready and follow instructions. Always be prepared for the unexpected by listening and watching your teacher. During a shelter event, teachers will try to take attendance and note the time. Those are the actions, directives, and instructions for the standard response protocol. That's what these icons mean. Always ask questions if you need to help make you feel safe. We will be practicing these things all year long to make sure that you are safe every day.